Welcome to issue 4 of the Flying Scotsman locomotive. In this issue we're going to be doing the chassis fixer plates, and this issue we're going to need a screwdriver. What could possibly go wrong? So hello, welcome to issue 4 of Build a Flying Scotsman, and these are the parts that we have for this week. So let's have a little look. So we have part number, oh that's not coming out, oh that does not want to come out. Right, so we have part number 12, which is the not an awful lot to see on this actually. Let me just make sure I've got this the right way around. So this is piece number 12. This is the front chassis fixer plate, and then we have part 13, which is the rear chassis fixer plate. Now what's confusing for me is on the in the magazine the orientation, it clearly shows the title, but it also shows the marks, so that's where I'm a little bit confused. So looking at these marks straight away, I can see that we're going to need our photo etch bender, because this is where the parts get bent. We also have two other parts, and these are quite exciting because it looks to me like we're going to need a screwdriver. So we have stage piece 14 4x4mm screws, and I can see that these are brass countersunk screws. Are they countersunk? No, they're not cut countersunk. They're just flat topped screws. So let's see if I can get a close-up of those. So that's stage 4. Now at this point I don't know if we're going to need all 4. Sometimes they give us spares, sometimes they will give us parts for a later issue, we don't know. And then we have these spacers, and there's 2 of them. So I suspect with 2 ends, with screw ends, we're going to need all 4 of those screws. So the first stage we need to be doing is removing these pieces from the fret. So you know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to be speeding this up while I do it, and I will see you in a moment, guys. Okay, so we need to get our photo etch bender out, which I need to find it now, don't I? So let me just move my cup of coffee out of the way, and this is our photo etch bender, so I'll get to show you it again. And I do quite enjoy it. Like all expensive pieces of equipment, I do like to use them, because then they seem better value for money. Now another point to make, I've been keeping these spare frets. As you know from the first video, my soldering attempts were absolutely disastrous. So I am looking at practicing my soldering, and obviously if I can chop these up into small pieces, it gives me, especially with this thick piece, these are quite thin, these pieces this week, but it just gives me an opportunity to just keep practicing my technique. So the first thing we need to do then is we need to bend the front fixer plate, and that's piece number 12. And looking at the key, I can see that's the smallest one. So what we need to do, this is quite handy actually, if we take the piece that we made last week, so I have a lot of assemblies from various projects lined up. So if we take our piece from last week, we can see that a little bit later on, when we've done this front fixer plate, we can see that it's going to be going in there. So this has 3 tabs, there, there and there, and I can see that one tab is going to go into there, one tab is going to fit along there, and then one is going to go into that tab there. So I can see that. I think that's the wrong piece. There we go. So I can see that those two tabs there and there fit in absolutely fine, but this tab there needs to come down to a 90-degree angle, and then I think that will go in perfectly. So we have to think about how we're going to bend this. Do we bend it this way, or do we bend it this way? And I think the easiest way will be to place the smaller piece into the holder, and then that will give us a lot more leverage using the larger piece to hold it. So there we can see, no, it's just, there we go. If you get it just at the right angle, you can just see the bend there. And then what we'll do, with the help of the razor blade, we will just bend that up a little bit, and then we can just lift on that. That bends so easily. There we go. And I'll just use the table just to finish it off, and that's about 90 degrees. So we'll dry fit that, and yes, I can see that's a perfect fit, just like so. Absolutely fantastic there. Now the next stage is to do nothing. We just pop that to one side, and the next stage is to bend this piece. Now this is slightly more complicated, because I can see that it's going to be going into here, and we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4 bends. So we need to make almost a box. So this tab is going to go into this one there, this tab is going to go into that one there, this tab will go into, not into there, this will go on to the end like so, and this tab will go on to there. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like they're all going to be 90 degree angles, which is obviously making life a little bit easier. No, it's not going to be 90 degree angles. This one there is going to be a 45 degree angle. So that goes to there, it'll come down and then straight down. Now the problem we have is that we need to do these bends in a certain order. If I bend this and then place it in, it's then going to straighten my bend. So what we need to be doing is doing one end like this, bend that, and then we'll bend the next one further. So we need to think about this first. We need to think first of all the orientation. So I can see the orientation is going to be this way. We then need to think about the bends. So we need 190, 245s and 190. So let's do that now. So this is going to be a 90 degree bend. And this is going to be quite a tricky one because there isn't much material sticking out to grab onto, but we'll do our best. I don't quite like that positioning. There we go. No, too much. There we go. So we get our razor blade and we just want to try and tuck that underneath. That's going. There we go. And then we will just lift that up to about a 90 degree angle. It doesn't have to be precise. So my apologies, my camera software decided just to cock up, and I haven't checked it yet, so I'm just going to do a quick recap. I believe we have this piece all sorted out. Just in case I haven't, what we've done is I can't remember where this goes now. Bum, 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 bum. There we go. So we have bent this so that it fits nicely, and you've got a tab there and a tab there, a resting bit, and then a tab going straight down. So we bent this at 90 degrees and we popped it into there, and that will go absolutely perfect, and that will be glued or fixed later. And then this piece, what we're actually aiming to do is, we have bent the one bit already, so we want a 90-degree bend to make that go into there. This next piece will come down at 45 degrees, there will be a tab go into there, the last piece will come round at 90 degrees to go into there. So we did do the one bend, and I think that's where my camera cocked up, and we did establish that we need a 90 degree, 2 45s and a 90 degree. So let's get on with our second bend now. And you'll probably have noticed that I am using different camera software. I was trying out some new software that I thought would be better quality, and I think the result was better, but it just seems to not be too good with my computer at the moment. So I've bent that at about a 45 degree angle. We don't need protractors and precision equipment, because what we'll do is we'll do a dry fit before we glue it all up, but that can now be adjusted by hand if need be. So this second bend is going to be 45 degrees, and it's getting a little bit tricky to lift this up, so I'll just get anything I can just to help me lift it. So some kind of bar, or in this case a file, and I'm not sure if that was, there we go. This is very forgiving because they have scored lines into the brass, so if you don't line it up properly it will still score along the line. So there we go, that's about a 45 degree angle. I can see between them they're not, because if that 245 degrees make a 90, I don't think that bit's pointing straight up, but that's absolutely fine because we can make adjustments later. So now we have the last piece that we need to bend, and this is quite handy because this has made a little handle for us. So what we can do is we can pull all of this up, and this is going for roughly a 90 degree angle, and then we undo, and then where you can see 90, 45, 45, 90. So what we'll do is we'll test fit this. I'm not expecting it to fit properly, but do you know what, with a little bit of twisting, as I place this in, place this one in and then place this one in, push this along there like so. This one's a little bit out of alignment, so I just push that up, and you can see that actually fits rather nice. A little bit pleased with that. So the next stage then is to glue these in. Now last time I did some gluing, we actually used this marine weld. This time around I'm going to use ordinary super glue, and I can hear you screaming at me, and let me explain to you why I'm using ordinary super glue. I have had a little look at in advance in the magazines. We've also got these which will not be used, right. So what we're going to be doing at some point today is we're going to be screwing these plates in, these spacers, and then we will have another piece come in on the other side. It's going to be identical to this, and that will complete this section. And because these are held in by tabs, in actual fact you probably don't need to glue these in. As you can see there, I think this might need, there we go. On this piece, once these are in the tabs, they're not going anywhere, as you can see. And then once you've got another piece on the other side, they're going to be clamped in. So the only reason I'm putting glue in is, as you can see at the moment, they will fall out. So until we get to the relevant stage, they could fall out. So what I want to do is just glue these in just with super glue, which of course will have the advantage that if I glue them in the wrong, like if they're not quite right, they can be moved a little bit. So for this, I'm just going to do a dry fit. First of all, always do a dry fit. Make sure your parts do actually fit. These fit very nicely, so I'm actually going to do those last. And then this piece fits very snug, very snug. So the way I'm going to do this is with my brush applicator and not much glue on the brush. I'm just going to take the points of contact, which is along there, and as I was taught by a very lovely chap, P40F20, the super glue has good contact, good strength, but it actually lacks the shear strength. So if we were to pull this up and down, it would certainly have very good strength. If we move it sideways, that's when it will break. And this won't be moved sideways because it's got these little tabs in that's preventing it from doing so. So there we go, look. No, that didn't work. I didn't give it long enough to set. So this is just really as a holding glue, and I've not got that tab in, so now I'm worried. So this is the point where I'm thinking I'd really like some clamps. Do I have any clamps? I do. I don't know, I think that's too, yeah, that's not really the right kind of clamps. Yeah, and that clamp's just pulling it up. So let's give that another go with the glue. It could be that I didn't put enough glue on. It could be that because I did pull it up too early, it broke the contact and it's not able, you know, maybe if once you've broken the contact, if the glue goes dry, it won't stick. Wet dry glue doesn't work, does it? So let's give that a few seconds. That's set. I mean, that's sticking. So although that's not, if that was an outside piece and then we needed strength on that, I would certainly solder or marine weld that in, but because it's going on the inside, that's going to be absolutely fine. So the next piece is this one. So again, exactly the same. We just really need to just hold this in place until we place the next plate on, which is, I believe, going to be 2 or 3 more issues, or whenever I get around to doing that issue. As you know, guys, I do a few videos in advance, so I may be doing issue 20 today, but obviously I will release them one a week. Right, this is quite awkward because there's no natural feel. It doesn't seem to want to lock into place, and it's also not sticking. So again, I may just not have used enough glue, and the main areas of problem seems to be this corner there. This one doesn't seem to be quite so bad, so let's also place just a tiny bit there. We can sand this if we get a little bit of I forget the word, but I'm going to call it glue squidge, but obviously, you know, any mistakes we can sand, but I would rather try to get it looking nice in the first place so that we have less work to do. So I think that's a little bit droopy, so but I know that we will we'll be able to move it a little bit later. So guys, what I'm going to do now, obviously we've still got a bit more work to do, but I just want to let that glue set just for a little bit, and then I'll come to it and finish it off in a bit. Okay, so I've been down and had a little cup of coffee and just given that a bit of time just to set a little bit. This is absolutely fine. This bit I'm a little bit worried about. Maybe I used too much glue, so it's a little bit wobbly, so I've just got to be careful with that. It will sort itself out once we get the other side on. So the next stage is stage 9, and it says the first spacer 15, which is this piece. Make sure I've got this the right way round. So it actually goes into, let me find something I can point with. That will be a lot easier, I think. So the first spacer locates in the chassis frame using the hole just behind the first driving wheel bush and is held in place with screw 14. Check that the screw fits in the hole. Enlarge the hole with a needle file if necessary. So it's actually going into that hole there. And then stage 10 will be the second spacer locates in the hole directly behind the front bush. File to enlarge slightly, so I can see that it's this hole there. So what we'll do, and these screws are very fiddly, so I will get just the one screw. I don't think that's going to be a good idea holding those in tweezers because it's round, but I'm not sure. That I can't push it all the way through, but the end does go into the hole. So let's go with it, and then we'll have a look at the next stage. We'll see how we get along. I don't like filing in case we overfile the hole, but we'll have a look. And then the next stage, then stage 11 and 12, is that we will meet the spacer on the other side with the screwdriver. So guys, we are now up to issue, I've forgotten the issue number. How bad is that? Issue 4, and all hail the screwdriver. It makes an appearance. So let me get the correct screwdriver bit. So for this one we need a flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to use this one because that seems to work very well. That's a 2.5, and yeah, it's not very magnetic. So let's see how we get on with this, and I'm going to pop the first screw just into the hole. Yeah, that's struggling, isn't it? Okay, let's file the hole. So we'll just pop our round needle file, and all we need to do is just gently take a little bit off there. It's a little bit trickier to do than these holes because it is a much smaller hole. There you go, that's in enough. So no, that's not wanting to play. So right, let's try a little bit of blue tack. This is a good little trick that I've learned in the past. That's way too much. So what you do is you pop a little bit of blue tack on your screwdriver bit, and then you insert the screwdriver bit into the screw, making sure there's enough that you can still turn the screw, and then that doesn't work. Right, you only need a tiny bit of blue tack. There we go, just enough to get that started. Then we can remove the blue tack, and then we can get that screw in. Then it's just getting it started. There we go, and once you get to a certain point, the screw just goes around freely, and I just want to get the rest of that blue tack out. There we go. So then we get the bush, and we hold it against the other side. We can get it started by turning the bush like so, but then obviously we want to finish that off with the screwdriver. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of flat head screws because I don't feel you can get the grip that you can get with the Phillips, but we have to work with what we're given. So let's try this end. And this one actually doesn't need any assistance. This one is going straight in. So we'll just screw that in. I hope you can see this okay. Sometimes the lighting comes out a little bit dark. I did seem to have that cracked with the other software that I tried using. The white balance on it was absolutely fantastic, but this software doesn't seem to work so well. Right, so there we go guys, that is actually issue complete. We've got 2 spacers in there. Now I think it's a reasonable guess that these 2 leftover screws are going to be going onto a plate there. So I'm terrible with keeping small parts, so what I'm going to do is just pop those on just a little bit, and then I won't lose them then, will I? So that is issue 4 complete. This is now stiffened up a lot more. It's okay, it's quite acceptable. So yes, let's finish this now, and we will do issue 5, which I believe will be do you know what, I've not even looked at issue 5. Yes, I can see that it's going to be another plate. So I hope you enjoyed watching that, and I hope to catch you in the next issue. Take care then guys, bye bye.